Hey guys, DJ here at Top Tech with a sweet Magic Origins box that I just cracked the wrapping off of and I'm going to dig into. Magic Origins just came out, it's brand new. I'm pretty excited to dig into it today, see what sweet stuff we can get for the shop. We got Gideon's Phalanx, these are rare. And some uncommons. Gideon's Phalanx is pretty cool, put four 2/2 white creatures into battlefield, and then if you have 2 or more spells in your graveyard, all your dudes get indestructible. It's a pretty awesome combat trick, as well as a decent token maker. 7 mana for 4 2/2s isn't too bad. Along with the indestructible effect, obviously. Sword of the Animist. Waltz. Our new Shock Overlord. Exquisite Firecraft. What is this? Oh, double Planeswalker check sheets. I didn't even notice those. Those are cool. I forgot, like, we have flip cards again. Hopefully we get some of those in here. Exquisite Firecraft deals 4 damage to target creature or player if they're 2 or more. Huh, alright. So, basically a Char. That seems like a pretty strong card in Standard. And then we got Shock too. Yeah, red's sweet. That's good. It's good to always see tools for red for rotation. It's like, I always worry mono red won't be strong enough, even though it's always one of the best decks right after rotation happens. Oh, awesome. And then we got Gideon. So, he's Kytheon, Hero of Akros on the front side. At the end of combat, if it and at least 2 other creatures attack this turn, or attack this combat, at the end of combat, sorry, you exile it and return to play Flipped Over. It also has the ability to pay 3 mana to gain Indestructible until end of turn. Flipped Over turns into Gideon Battleforged. Gideon has +2, up to 1 target creature has to attack it. +1, until my next turn, target creature gains Indestructible and you untap that creature. And for 0, it can become a 4/4 creature with Indestructible. And it flips over with 3 loyalty. Gideon is awesome in any white aggressive deck. If White Weenie becomes a thing again, Gideon will be a centerpiece for the deck. It's also one of the cards I'm the most excited to add to my cube. I think it's just a really, really sick card. Oh, Pyromancer's Goggles, another insanely fun card in the set. Taps for a red mana, it's 5 mana, and then if you play a red spell with it, you get to copy that spell and choose new targets. So, like, you can, you know, in like EDH or something, copy lightning bolts and do 6 damage with it, pointed wherever you please. It's just a really cool card. It's a ton of fun to play with, I think. Or will be a ton of fun to play with, I think, anyway. Come on. There it is. There it is. Alright. Dwynnen Gilt-Leaf Dane. For each other elf creatures you control, get +1/+1, and when it attacks, you gain 1 for each elf. It's 4 mana, 3/4. It's a pretty good card in like standard elves, which I think will be a really sick deck with Galactic Company and stuff, just like black-green elves, playing all sorts of these new elf creatures that we got. In that vein, we got Goblin Glory Chaser, that's pretty sweet for like a standard Goblin deck, and we got Dwynn's Elite, which when it enters the battlefield, if you have an elf, it makes another 1/1. So it puts 2 elves onto the field, which is great with like pump effects and stuff, and puts 2 on the field for like the gain life ability on this card or something. So that's pretty awesome. It's 2 mana card, 2 mana for a 2/2 and a 1/1 is not a bad trade, especially if you let off the game with Elvish Mystic or something. So you can do that and more. Gaia's Revenge can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. Haste and can't be countered. It's a pretty sweet fatty. Make sure to keep us up with Mistcutter Hydra variants. Don't let blue mages make your creatures go away. Not as good as protection from blue against the mono blue decks, obviously, but I don't think we'll have a mono blue deck for forever. You know, we'll have one until Theros rotates most likely, but yeah. Then we got Goblin Power Driver, another one of the cards I'm the most excited for. Being able to play a Goblin deck in Modern or Standard is so exciting to me. And this card is just the bee's knees in Goblins. Like, having it attack for like 5 damage on turn 3 and then, you know, even more possibly, but up to like 7 or 9 on turn 4 is just so good. It does everything. It's the dream. You got a Soul Blade Jin, really cool limited card. And got a couple of the multicolored cards. What's this Hellhound do? Sacrifice another creature. Blazing Hellhound deals 1 damage. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Then a double strike guy. And any cool commons in here? Yeah, not really. Oops. Mana Gorger Hydra. This is another cool card. I'm not sure how much play it'll actually save, but it has trample whenever a player casts a spell. You put a 1/1 counter on it. So it'll grow real big real quick in like a blue deck in like an older format, playing like Brainstorms, Ponders, Gitaxian Probes and stuff, or especially against your opponent's deck that's trying to do that. You can put this guy into play and it'll just grow to monstrous size very quickly. And some uncommons. Nothing too awesome. Another really cool card, I think. Foil Rune Servitor. Graveblade Marauder. And our uncommons. And another Fiery Impulse. Impulse is sweet. Wow. Graveblade Marauder is a fine card. I don't know. It's pretty boring. I don't think it'll see constructed play, but I've been wrong before. I did play it, or put it in my sealed deck, which may or may not have been correct. Relic Seeker, this is another card that I actually really wanted to talk about. I think this card could be very good in Standard if we have any decent equipment for it to search. Just turning into a 3/3 and finding you an equipment is fine. And then in a Modern deck like Death and Taxes, it might make the cut. It's no Stoneforge for slower decks like Stoneblade from Legacy where you want to grind out the game and get your Batterskull. But in your aggressive white-based creature deck where you're playing guys and attacking, playing this to search out Batterskull or swords like a sword doesn't seem that bad to me. I'm not sure if it'll actually make the cut, but I would try it, and I think it is a really good card. Depending on the equipment printed, while it's in Standard, it'll see play, I think. Then we got Dragon Fodder, which isn't really noteworthy other than it was in Limited to play with Goblin Pile Driver, which is cool. Then we got Guardians of Meletis Foil, Thopter Token. These are both cool things. And then Abbot of Carolkeep, which is a card that I think is really cool. It's got prowess, and whenever you play it, you review or exile the top card of your deck, and you can play it that turn. So it's not like a 2-drop you really want to play on turn 2 in your mono red deck, unless you were really light on threats. In which case you could play it, and with prowess it would be attacking for 3 a lot of turns anyway, since you're playing burn spells. So it's not the end of the world. But you play it on like 4 mana, you can play it, you get a 2/1 with prowess, and you can, aim another burn spell off the top or make your land drop. It's not great in like the most aggressive mono red decks, but it doesn't seem too bad in kind of slower, like Fanatic of Mogus based Devotion red decks. I'm not sure if that's any good, but I think this card's really sweet, and I like getting free cards in red, which is a color that historically has just had awful card advantage and card draw. So, I didn't get to talk about this card yet, I don't think. I probably went past them, just didn't think about it. But Foundry of the Consuls is really, really cool to me. I just like lands that do things. Utility lands are awesome. And it's 5 mana to tap and sacrifice it to put 2 1/1 Flying Thopters into play, which is not great like for your investment, but it is really cool just having lands that do anything. I always like seeing utility lands, whether they end up being good or not, because I just think they give you so many more options when deck building. Being able to have lands be a threat is just a cool thing. Molten Vortex, definitely an awesome card. Something that I would really like to brew with a little bit in Modern, I think, with Life from the Loam. And then Mage Ring Network, which is a storage land, but for colorless, but for, any deck in Standard that wants to go big. That's not the worst thing in the world. Slowly grows up to help you cast your Ugins early or something. Not a bad trade at all to give up some early game tempo. This is the most exciting card in the set for Standard, I think. Languish is going to make a huge impact. All creatures get -4/-4 end of turn until end of turn. It's so sick in Abzan. Probably we'll see play in decks like Esper Dragons as a split with Crux of Fate. It's just such a strong card. It comes down early enough that it's a little bit better than like Crux and Hostilities against the aggro decks, but it does enough more damage that it's better than Anger of Gods and Drown in Sorrow against mid-range. It's just, this is such a game changer in Standard, and it's a really exciting card to have in the format. Oh, and I got my stuff out of order. Alright, whatever. I think this is the card that'll have the most immediate impact of any card in this set. Oh, Demonic Pact is one of the most fun cards I've seen printed in a while. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose one of the modes on it that hasn't been chosen yet. It's got 4 modes. So one is deals 4 damage to a creature and you gain 4 life. One is target opponent, discards 2 cards. One is draw 2 cards. And the last one is you lose the game. So it's a high risk, high-ish reward card. If it sticks in play for 3 turns, you've drawn 2 cards, your opponent has lost 2 cards, they've probably lost a creature, and you've gained 4 life, which is a huge swing over those turns, but it is a lot of mana to play on turn 4 and probably not do anything. And then you have to find a way to get it out of play before that 4th turn. So you can bounce it with your own cards, kill it with your own enchantment destruction, something like that. There's plenty of ways to make it not be on the table, but it's not the most consistent thing ever, I'd imagine. It's a cool card, though. I wouldn't be surprised if some standard brews play it. It's definitely sweet. Next, we have Nissa's Revelation. Scry 5, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, draw cards equal to its power and gain life equal to its toughness. Sweet with fat cards. Rogue's Passage reprint is cool. I like this card in standard. Like I said, I like lands that do things. They're just some of the more fun cards to play with. It feels good to draw a land later in the game and actually have it do something instead of just going, alright, I didn't really need mana. High Claw Recluse Foil, the dream. Despoiler of Souls, a card that I expect to really make a splash in some kind of black aggro / devotion deck before Theros rotates. This card is really sweet to provide double black devotion. It gets played from your graveyard in a very fair and not broken way, as opposed to some old cards like Icarid that you could play from your graveyard. It can't block, which is fine, but I mean it is a 3/1, which is a reasonable attacker early in the game. And it does recur, which even if it doesn't have relevant stats later in the game, really, since it can't block and a 3/1's going to die to most things when attacking later, it might trade, but let's just assume worst case it's just going to die. You can still get the value off of it from playing it from your graveyard for basically free. Obviously, you spend mana and remove creatures to play it, but without using any resources from your hand, you get 2 more black devotion for your Grey Merchant, which would be pretty cool in like a mid-rangey, aggressive kind of creature-based mono black deck with like Erebos' Titan and that card. Another thing, I don't know if it'd be any good, but it's real sweet. Jace's Sanctum. My instant sorceries cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcerer, scry a card. I hope there's some kind of cool combo deck with that card in Standard. I don't know that there is, but that sounds awesome. I like playing spells. Play that in Pyromancer's Goggles. Build your own Pyromancer's Ascension. Make our cards cheaper. Play them with Goggles. Copy them to go to the Dome. Foil Thunderclap Wyvern. Cool card. Really cool card. I don't think... Yeah, maybe. We got Embermaw Hellion, which I have to actually read. And some Conclave Naturalist, Ring Scab, and Elemental Bond. What is this? Oh, big Reclamation Sage. Embermaw Hellion, Trample. When another red source you control will deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals that much damage +1 instead. That's a pretty cool card. 5 mana, 4/5 with Trample. Makes all your spells do a little extra damage. Oh, that's rare. Artificer's Epiphany. Instant Speed Divination is really sweet. It's not the greatest card if you have to discard, like 3 mana to draw 2, discard 1 is but if you have an artifact in play, just being an instant speed draw 2 cards, that is not bad at all. And I think this card's pretty cool. It makes sense with all the like Thopter making cards where they were going with it. I don't think that that's the way it'll really see play, but it could be. Just having instant speed card draw in general is really good though, so... Then we have our uncommons. Clash of Wills, Syncopate being back is awesome for Standard. Syncopate-ish, not removing, obviously. But so often early in the game, you can just play it for 2 mana and it's functionally counterspelled, and later in the game, you'd rather have the mana to dump into it if you're playing control, or If you're playing like a tempo deck and it didn't really matter that much. Harbinger of Tides, another card that'll help really revive Mono Blue Devotion as a deck. Putting this card in the 2-drop slot really helps as it's a double blue card. A lot of the things I said to Spoiler Souls really apply here as well. Being double blue for Master of the Waves is sick, but this card also has so much utility as a flash 2/2 later in the game for 4 mana. Being able to bounce an opponent's creature as well or something. Like when they attack, you can flash it in, bounce in an attacker, block another one if you were trying to race them and just needed to prevent damage from coming through or something, or just make a sick tempo play at the end of their turn, bouncing a creature. It's just a really, really good card, whether you play it just as a Grizzly Bear early in the game to give double devotion, or if you play it later in the game for a tempo swing effect. There's also a Merfolk, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure where it falls into Merfolk decks in older formats, but I can see viling that card in on your opponent's turn being really sick. Then we have Priest of the Bloodrite. This card's actually pretty good. When it comes into play, it puts a 5/5 black demon token into play with flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life. So if you can get rid of this guy, then you just have a 5/5 black flyer if you use it for like a sack effect or something. And if you recur this guy with something like a Revelurk or something, it comes with a 5/5. So that's really cool. It's another black card. Maybe we can brew together a mono black devotion deck team. Not sure that we can, but you know, we can get there. It is another 5-drop, so not exactly the spot that you wanted a card in, but you win some, you lose some. It does provide double black devotion, which isn't the most, but again, it seems fine. Mizium Meddler foil, flash. When Mizium enters the battlefield, you may change a target of target spell or ability to Mizium Meddler. Cool card. Then our rare is Gilt-Leaf Winnower. It's got menace, so it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. And when it enters the battlefield, you destroy target non-elf creature whose power and toughness aren't equal. Very, very strangely specific set of conditions. Really awesome card, though. Just being a 5-mana creature that instantly +1s when it comes into play, eating an opponent's guy. It's cool. It's strange for elves being double black instead of like single black in our probably primarily green deck that also wants to play Collected Company while this card falls out of range of Coco. But it's still really, really cool. Tragic Arrogance. I don't know what that does, so I'm going to have to read it. And some other uncommons. Tragic Arrogance. For each player you choose from among the permanents that player controls, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. Then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents he or she controls. So a really, really, really nerfed Cataclysm. Probably still a fine card. Jeez. Mineral Race, Painlands are cool. Sphinx's Tutelage for a pretty cool limited win condition. It's good to keep the Painlands around. I like when we keep our non-basic land cycles for a while so you don't feel like punished by picking them up. Foil Smash to Smithereens. This card has been reprinted to hell and back recently. You know, not too long ago, Foil Smashes were $1 million, and now they're all just cheap as poop. Then we have Mage Ring Responder as our rare. It doesn't untap during your untap step. Pay 7 to untap it. Whenever it attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. Neat card. Oh, awesome. We got Nissa too. So on the front side, Nissa is basically a Wood Elves. When it enters the battlefield, search your deck for a basic forest, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Oh, it goes to your hand, not the field. That makes more sense. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, exile Nissa, flip her over, and return her to play. On the back side, Nissa's +1 is reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it into play, and otherwise put it into your hand. Her -2 puts a 4/4 green elemental creature token. I think I pulled the token, actually, called Ashea or something, onto the battlefield. It is legendary, so you can't just make a bunch of tokens, but then her ult, -7, untap up to 6 target lands. They become 6/6 elemental creatures. They're still lands. This is real cool. Real cool. It's about as green as cards get, and I love it. Dark Petition, another really cool card. Following their trend of printing kind of fixed versions of broken cards, a fixed demonic tutor. Searches your deck for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. If you have Spell Mastery, meaning 2 or more instant sorceries in your graveyard, it adds 3 black back to your mana pool. So you have to spend 5 to get the effect either way, so you have to do it later in the game. But if you have spells in your graveyard, it does functionally cost 2 mana for the turn once it resolves. You get 3 black mana back, which means if you wanted to tutor up like a 3-drop or something and cast it, you'd be able to. It's a really cool card. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun to play with. I don't know where a home for it will be found, but I would bet there will be one. Even if that home is in EDH or my cubes. Or even in Legacy as an extra tutor card for Storm. What is Acolyte of the Inferno? When it's blocked by a creature, deal 2 damage to the creature. Yeah, that's cool. A Homarit's Archive. If you would gain life, gain twice that much life instead. If you would draw a card except the one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards. Really cool card to get yourself out of burn range, gain extra life, draw extra cards if you're playing a deck with card draw in it. I don't want to say it's like a disappointing mythic, but man, would it have been cooler to get another Planeswalker. Foil Nissa's Revelation and a Shivan Reef. Undercity Troll, Sigil of Valor, Bounding Craces. Bounding Craces is cool. It's another card to enable Splinter Twin or Kiki Jiki combo, as well as just being a sweet tempo play to shut your opponent's guys down. It is only creatures, not permanent, so you can't tap down like a land or something. Graveborn or Graveblade Marauder again. Nothing too cool in our uncommons here. Hallowed Moonlight. This card's definitely going to be some playable in Modern, I think. Being kind of like a one-shot containment priest until the end of turn, if a creature would enter the battlefield that wasn't cast, you remove it instead, and you draw a card, cantrips. It's just a pretty cool card for taking a turn away from like Splinter Twin, or it's got a ton of game against your Animator. The Tritagoria's in there, what you call it there, Grizzlebrand or something, and you just remove it, or they try to through the breach. It just seems like it's a really strong card. Then we have Pia and Karan Nalaar, Chandra's Parents. Pretty cool cards theme-wise. When they come into play, you get 2 1/1 colorless Thopter tokens. Then you can sacrifice an artifact for 3 mana. Sacrifice an artifact and it deals 2 damage to a creature or player. Kind of like a Siege Gang Commander variant. Cheaper to play, gets less fodder, and it's a little more expensive to sack the fodder. But it plays very well with like old affinity cards or something, where you have a lot of cheap artifacts in play and you can get rid of them for very little investment, really. You don't feel like you lost much at all. Yeah, it's an exciting card, I think. I think it's a really fun card to play. Vryn Wingmate. It's a lot like Thalia. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast and has flying. Instead of being a 2/1 with first strike for 2, it's a 2/1 with flying for 3. But it's non-legendary, so you can stack these into play and disallow your opponent from doing things that some might consider fun, but are very irritating to be on the other side of. Nobody likes being the guy across the table from the combo deck. Another really cool card, and flying is pretty relevant, being able to beat through their defenders. Then we have a Herald of the Pantheon. This is a card I'm pretty happy we pulled so we can talk about it, actually. I'm sure if you guys have been playing Standard, you remember the green-black Constellation decks from earlier in the format. Playing like Eidolon of Blossoms and Doomwake Giant and stuff. Those decks were cool. They didn't quite get there for long. They were fine for a while, but they didn't quite get there for the longest time. I think this card will help them come back. It's a 2-mana 2/2, so it's fine stat-wise. It's a Grizzly Bear. Very average, but nothing that you can look at and go like, wow, that's terrible stats. But when it's in play, your enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast, so that's all your enchantment creatures, all your regular enchantments, whatever. So it's a ramp spell in its own right for those. And when you cast an enchantment, you gain a life. So your kind of dirtily deck gets some more percentage points against aggro. And I think that'll help Constellation Quebec. One thing they did very well in Magic Origins, I think, is support decks that kind of got toned down throughout Con's block that were really strong in Theros block, like especially Mono Blue, Mono Black, Constellation. Those being the big three. I think most other decks weren't like super buffed. But they did a good job of supporting them and giving us some tools to try to play decks before they rotate. It kind of gives some of our cooler cards one last hurrah. This box was pretty sick, actually. We got Kytheon and Nissa. Those are awesome. It's really cool to get the Planeswalkers. They're going to be a ton of fun to play with. I think Gideon is insane. I think Nissa's pretty good. Pyromancer's Goggles has got to be one of the more fun cards to play with. I personally will try to brew something in Standard using it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because all it's going to really do is copy a burn spell, but I mean, whatever. Copying the, I can't remember the name of the spell now, the Chandra spell that deals 4 to your opponent's face and then 1 to their creatures, like 8 to the face, Pyroclasm your board. Not too bad, especially if I'm telling you guys, there's something here. Might be something terrible, but there's something here with Jace's Sanctum to make our spells cost a little bit less. I'm feeling it. I don't know where we're going to get, but I'm feeling it. And then just some other really cool cards. The Pegasus is awesome. This Shield is a really cool card. I think the Chandra's Parents are cool cards. Painlands, Dark Petition is sick. More Painlands. I think this card is fine in Elves, or maybe fine in like a black deck of some sort. I'm not really sure. It's the same way I feel about this card. It's definitely good in some kind of black deck. I don't know where it'll find a home or if it'll actually find a home, but the card's not bad by any stretch. Despoiler of Souls, I would be very surprised if it doesn't see play. Demonic Pact and Languish are both so much fun. Languish is just an insane card. Pile Driver, oh yeah, the other theme, Goblins, they got an insane boost just by introducing Pile Driver. And the Goblin Glory guy, whatever his name is, I'm drawing a blank on it, the one with Renown and Menace. So a lot of themes got very, very real buffs in this set, which is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. This is the most relevant that a core set has been in a while, I think. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's, you know, kind of a long video just for cracking a box, but I think there were a lot of cards that were worth talking about. I think there's a ton in this set to play with, and I'm really happy that this core set felt really good. It's going to be hard to swallow it being the last one when they hit the nail on the head so well this time as far as having constructed playable cards in the set, but that's okay. For a last hurrah, this was definitely where they wanted to be, and I think this set's awesome. I think you guys should go out and pick some up if you have any interest in playing these decks, or just pick up the cards. Let me know down below how your guys' pulls go on this release weekend. I hope some of you guys get boxes and get really awesome stuff. If your pulls aren't too good, that sucks. I'm sorry, but you know, let me know what happens in your boxes. Everyone enjoys hearing how other people do. I hope your guys' boxes are even cooler than mine. Let's see some foil Planeswalkers in there. But overall, I think this box was really good, and I'm very happy with my investment. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more Magic content coming up, as well as plenty of other card games if you're into more than just Magic. For right now, we're going to be focusing on kind of like doing stuff with the new cards. For the most part, I want to build decks that utilize these cards for Magic, because I think that's just really cool. It's fun to explore the format right when it starts, rather than stressing about playing like the most optimized decks with old cards. Like, we don't have a ton of time with them in Standard with Theros, so I want to get the most out of my ability to play like Mono Blue and Goblins and stuff before those other cards rotate. We do only have about 3 months, so I'm going to try to make the most of it. Hopefully get some more sweet Standard and Modern videos, mostly probably Standard before the format rotates in a couple months. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys are interested in seeing those other things coming up, and other than that, have a good one. I hope you guys pack insane out of your Magic Origins boxes. I hope this was kind of interesting to you guys. Like I said, very long-winded video, but, you know, oh well. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.